It's time for NCW Life News on the NCW Life channel. The latest from the Wenatchee Valley and North Central Washington with Steve Hare, Grant Olson, and sports with Eric Granstrom.
Good evening and welcome to NCW Life News. I'm Grant Olson. Before we get to today's top stories, let's take a quick look at your weather forecast. And tonight through Friday, we can expect more of the same. We are seeing air quality alerts in place through Saturday morning. There is a slight chance of mainly afternoon and evening thunderstorms that will be mainly in the mountains as well. And then the good news for us, Saturday through Monday, we will see the smoke at least disappear for a while. We'll see cooling temperatures as well and another chance for some more thunderstorms. Your complete weather forecast coming up a little bit later on in the show. And now a few of the stories we're following for you tonight. Chelan County Search and Rescue rescues an injured climber from Mount Stewart. A Douglas County Sheriff's deputy was injured responding to a call in Orondo. And the Chelan PUD gains $40 million with the addition of 2 new power contracts. Later on, we'll have sports, your weather forecast, and our features story today. But first, Chelan County marijuana growers opposed to new zoning rules turned out en masse for today's public hearing. Over 100 people turned out for the commissioner's public hearing, but only 2 spoke in support for the proposed regulations. Steve Hare was there and filed this report.
Well, the commissioners took about an hour and a half of testimony here this morning at their chambers in Wenatchee, and they heard from several people who spoke in favor of the industry and in opposition to those new regulations that have been proposed to mitigate the smells and the lights that are generated by these large marijuana farms. A lot of people, though, were very much against these new regulations and were very, very explicit in their testimony today.
All I'm saying to the commissioners, we have put up with this for 3 years. And when I have family coming from Arizona, and their eyes are watering, their nose are, I can't even have people to my house, and I shouldn't have to live that way.
My family's been here for over 100 years, taking risks to leverage blessed income that they've built from scratch. And we did the same thing. I wanted to teach my kids to do the same exact thing. And to have the carpet pulled out from underneath us like this, it is unconscionable. I can't believe it.
I own a Tier 3 outdoor grow. Has had no complaints whatsoever. My nearest neighbor is Steve McKenna, the PUD commissioner. I have a couple other neighbors who are within 800 feet.
My family has been in this valley for, probably at least 150 years. My grandfather was born out in Gray's Landing, where they grew fruit, agriculture, whether it was wheat in the beginning days or when they moved down off of the plateau full-time to raise cherries and apples. I am completely disgusted at the idea that you would somehow detract from Wenatchee's history, which is nothing more than agriculture, gentlemen. Would you ask the Stamilts over 100 years ago to stop doing what they were doing?
I come from a family of farmers. Most recently, we've been growing cherries, and we're no longer able to support ourselves with cherries. We tore out an orchard to grow marijuana, and this was supposed to be the family legacy. This is going to be my legacy. And because we are in a RR5 zone, you're going to zone us out of business. I'm going to be without a job. This was going to be my life and my history. You took it away from my children. Thank you.
Meanwhile, the commissioners are going to sit on this for a couple of weeks. They'll be resuming the public comment starting on August 22nd, and at that time, they will be taking action and possibly adopting these new regulations. Steve Hare from the Chelan County Commissioners' Chambers in Wenatchee for NCW Life News.
Thank you, Steve. 2 men were airlifted off Mount Stewart yesterday after one was seriously injured in a fall. Chelan County Sheriff Sergeant Kent Sisson reports 64-year-old Tim Pate of Camas fell nearly 50 feet after a large rock he was leaning on dislodged and he careened over the ledge. His climbing partner, 59-year-old Jim Schiller of Happy Valley, Oregon, then called 911 after he traversed down the slope to find Pate lying unconscious on the ground. A U.S. Navy helicopter was deployed to the scene and airlifted Pate to Harborview Medical Center with what were described as extremely serious injuries. Schiller remained on the mountaintop but was unable to climb down on his own due to exhaustion. The Navy chopper was then requested a second time to hoist him off the mountain to safety. Pate reportedly remains in critical condition with head, back, neck, and abdominal injuries. Coming up, the Chelan County PUD gains $40 million with the addition of 2 new power contracts. Superintendent Garn Christensen outlines the new class configurations for Eastmont schools, and the Washington State Patrol releases new stats on distracted driving enforcement. I'm Grant Olson, and you're watching NCW Life News.
I gotta tell you, I'm nervous.
Selling your home, it's a big step.
Can we find the right buyer in this market?
Look at our website. When someone looks at your home, I can tell how ready they are to buy. See that number? The closer it is to 100, the closer they are to buying. So, I know who to zero in on.
So you have a secret weapon.
You mean we have a secret weapon.
I like that. Oh, what do you think of the wallpaper?
I love that touch.
At Doghouse Motorsports, we ride what we sell. There's a lot we could say about the CD Spark and the CD GTI, but ultimately, the ride says it all.
Chelan County PUD's bottom line will increase by $40 million with the addition of 2 new power contracts. Energy Resources Managing Director Greg Carrington told commissioners yesterday the sales are for 5 years to Avangrid Renewables LLC of Portland, Oregon. That starts in 2019, and for 10 years to Avista Corporation based in Spokane starting in 2021.
Wholesale revenues for 2017 are up by about $2.3 million. You also heard me say that our expected results between now and 2030 have improved by $40 million, which is really good news for the district as a whole.
Each sale is for a 5% slice of power generated at Rocky Reach and Rock Island dams. The report came as staff updated board members on second quarter results. So far for 2017, net wholesale revenue and other energy-related revenue is forecast to end the year $2.3 million ahead of budget. At a meeting in July, the Eastmont School Board approved new class configurations for its 9 schools. The new plan will have Cascade, Grant, Kenroy, Lee, Rock Island, and Clovis going to kindergarten through 6th grade. Sterling Middle School will house K through 9th grades. Eastmont Junior High would go to 7th, 8th, and 9th grade, with the high school carrying 10th through 12th grade classes. Eastmont District Superintendent Garn Christensen says it really came down to a matter of space.
Talk about configuration, that's a big long word, and what does it mean? If you went home tonight and you learned that all of a sudden 2 more children were going to move into your home, or your in-laws, or a parent, you would need to look at your home and say, how do we organize this or configure it? Are we going to put these 2 kids in this bedroom, this child here, grandma here, who's going out in the garage, or do we need to add on? That's the same thing school districts do nonstop.
Christensen also says that even though the school district added classrooms just 3 years ago, the recent renovations still won't be able to accommodate future enrollment projections.
And they said, Eastmont, you need to be prepared to add a school about every 10 years. You're growing about 2% a year. We'll push 6,000 students is my guess by the end of this year. And right now we're comfortable within our current facilities because we just completed 3 years ago a major renovation and added classrooms throughout the district once more. However, what we need to do at this time is prepare for the next 10 years.
The reconfiguration will require the construction of 20 additional classrooms and cafeterias at 4 elementary schools. The plan will be put into action over the next 5 years. 2 weeks since the distracted driving law went into effect. How are we doing? The Washington State Patrol ran stats to see how the first week of the law differed from the week before it went into effect. According to the Washington Traffic Safety Commission, fatalities in the state caused by distracted driving increased 32% from 2014 to 2015. From July 16th to July 22nd, the week before the law went into effect, troopers stopped 273 cell phone violators, gave 118 citations, and 155 verbal warnings. From Sunday, July 23rd to Saturday, July 29th, the week after the law took effect, troopers contacted 337 motorists for violating the distracted driving law, with 27 citations, 4 written warnings, and 306 verbal warnings. The State Patrol said they are currently running a 6-month grace period, meaning they look to educate violators on the new law and not ticket them. You're watching NCW Life News. Coming up next, Eric Granstrom has your sports update, followed by our feature story today. That and much more still to come on NCW Life News. Stay with us.
Every golfer aims to play their best, and smart golfers turn to the Golfer's Edge to get the Golfer's Edge. PGA professional Ed Payne has you covered from tee to green. You can work on your swing or play 18 in air-conditioned comfort on the golf simulator. Tanya's Corner has all the apparel the golfer needs at sale prices. And Ed can even rebuild your favorite set of clubs or custom make you a brand new set. Ask how you can qualify for a free 30-minute lesson at the Golfer's Edge on Mission between Kittitas and Yakima.
No matter what your age or ailment, when you wake up each day with a sense of purpose, life has meaning and joy.
Just wait a while, it'll get in the hole somewhere.
Helping you do this is our purpose. Highgate Senior Living, each day to the fullest.
The best thing about my life right now is me.
And now it's a sports update on the NCW Life channel.
And a good Tuesday evening. It was much more than a baseball game played last night in Wenatchee. We had the NCW Life channel cameras there for a special moment before the game.
With a game that held so much on the line for so many other teams outside Wenatchee last night, the contest at Paul Thomas Senior Field really mattered not. It was a reminder that sport can sometimes not find the light through the shrouds of darkness. You'll forgive the Apple Sox if their minds weren't on baseball as the home nine took on Corvallis in the final game of the regular season last night. That's because they were mourning the unexplainable death of a teammate. Tommy Watanabe had gone home early after just pitching a few games for the Sox this summer due to an injury. He was home in Sacramento, California when he apparently went to bed Friday night, never to wake. He was to be a junior at the University of Nevada, Reno this fall. As a pitcher for the Apple Sox, he appeared in just 3 games, but Coach Kyle Crustangel penciled him in as the ceremonial starter for last night's game against Corvallis. Wenatchee's public address announcer Ian Dunn spoke during a brief ceremony before last night's game.
Ladies and gentlemen, we now ask that you rise as we recognize a moment of silence. This past weekend, our community, the baseball world, and the Wenatchee Apple Sox suffered a tragic loss with the unexpected passing of Tommy Watanabe. Tommy, a Sacramento native, was an Apple Sox pitcher from the College of San Mateo and was headed to the University of Nevada, Reno this fall. He played with the Apple Sox this season through July 22nd. Our hearts are heavy with sorrow as we gather tonight as a family to remember a young man, teammate, and brother who means so much to all of us. We shall keep him, his family, and all who know him in our hearts forever. Please bow your head and reflect with a moment of silence. Thank you.
The final score, by the way, Corvallis 12, Wenatchee 1. But you'll forgive the Apple Sox if their minds were far from baseball last night. With NCW Life Channel Sports, I'm Eric Grandstrom.
The Corvallis victory means an all-BC West Coast League Divisional Series featuring Kelowna and Victoria. Corvallis now heads to Yakima Valley to take on the Pippins in its divisional series. Wenatchee finished the season 29-25 in league play, the second best record in the WCL's North Division behind Bellingham. Overall, the Sox finished the summer at 32-26. That's 9 wins better than a season ago under first-year coach Kyle Crustangel. Wenatchee went from second worst last summer to third best record this summer. So even though they didn't make the playoffs, the Sox can feel good about the improvements made in the summer of 17. Well, as the Mariners head to Oakland for 2 games with the A's, they'll pick up a new first baseman along the way. And manager Scott Service says the addition of Yonder Alonso, acquired from the A's on Sunday, is another sign the Mariners have a playoff berth directly in their sights. Service said, anytime you got a chance to get better, you got to go for it. We've got a chance to get in this wild card. General Manager Jerry DiPoto acquired Alonso in a minor league deal with outfielder Boog Powell. Service said Alonso will be used in a platoon role with Danny Valencia at first base. Meanwhile, Felix Hernandez is expected to miss 3 to 4 weeks with bursitis in his right shoulder. The Mariners announced that today after the veteran went under an MRI test on Monday. On the feed, meanwhile, Seattle heads into the game with Oakland today, a game behind Tampa Bay and Kansas City for the final wild card spot. Royals and Rays are virtually tied behind New York for the final 2 wild card positions, while Seattle's 57 and 56. The M's will start Ariel Miranda tonight against Kendall Graveman, first pitch at 7:05. That's sports news. I'm Eric Grandstrom on the NCW Life Channel. Grant, back to you.
Thank you, Eric. Well, did you feel the earthquake last night? A small earthquake measuring 2.8 on the seismometer epicentered near Waterville. That was around 1 a.m. this morning. Earthquakes have been a topic of conversation in the Pacific Northwest as some anticipate a devastating earthquake in our future. Here's a video from NBC talking about what could come and how major cities should prepare for our future today.
When it happens, it will be the most catastrophic event ever in North America. There's a cost involved, and you can either pay it up front when it's relatively cheap, or you can pay it after the fact when you're trying to clean up a destroyed city.
It's not much of a secret. Eventually, the Pacific Northwest is going to be hit by a record-setting earthquake.
Well, if you just say, how often does Cascadia have any big earthquake? It's about 250 years. It's been 315 since the last one.
We've been building some of our biggest cities basically on top of a fault line. It's called the Cascadia Subduction Zone, one tectonic plate slipping under another.
The classic way to depict this, say your right hand is the subducting plate and your knuckles are the North American plate, and it just sort of buckles as the plates come together, and eventually you get to the breaking point.
The plates will slip, sending a potentially 100-foot-tall tsunami miles into the coastline. But major cities like Portland and Seattle are inland, where the real danger is from the earthquake shaking. And we don't seem to be doing a whole lot to prepare. Luckily, we don't have to look far for a good example. There's one right across the ocean. Japan.
They've been hammered by earthquake after earthquake after earthquake for 1,000 years, and they don't screw around with this stuff. In Japan, they have a warning system that it goes to people's cell phones, it goes onto the TV networks.
Those warnings also trigger shutdowns. Things like bullet trains and elevators automatically come to a stop. Japan also has seismic building codes, so in a big earthquake, what causes most of the damage is a tsunami on the coast, not the shaking.
People are used to just sitting there at lunch and an earthquake happens, and they'll look around and the earthquake's over and they just go back to eating lunch. So we're a very long way from that now.
A while back, San Francisco's chief building inspector was walking around, asking folks on the street if they knew anything about the next earthquake.
And the response he got from people is, oh, it's going to be terrible, and it's going to take like all afternoon to clean up. I'll look at their building and go, well, actually, no, your building's probably going to collapse. And they seem stunned that this hasn't been taken care of by somebody.
We might not have a lot of say on our brick offices, but Chris says you could start preparing a wood frame house in a weekend.
You bolt it to the foundation, you strap the water heater down so it doesn't burn your house down, and then you store some food and water for basically camping in place in your house for a couple of weeks.
The work to prepare our cities, on the other hand, is barely getting started. What we've done so far doesn't nearly match the scale of the problem.
I think one of our mistakes is that we tend to think of ourselves as a very advanced culture, and we can just reinvent the wheel and come up with some new stuff to solve these problems. But I think we just have to buck up and start paying the bill in little increments instead of all at once. And no matter how determined you might be, that's going to be a big job if it ever happens.
And we'll be back in just a moment with the recap of today's stories and your complete local weather forecast right after this.
Wenatchee Valley College is now offering four-year degrees. The need for engineering technologists is rapidly growing, and the new Bachelor of Applied Science in Engineering Technology is designed to meet the needs of local employers. Students with an associate degree can complete the program in only 2 or 3 years. Don't wait! The program is accepting just 20 students for fall quarter. Apply now at wvc.edu/engineeringtech.
Romaine Electric in Wenatchee is your one-stop repair shop for all your auto, marine, small engine, or heavy-duty truck electric motor needs. Does your battery need to be replaced? Their technicians will have you up and running. The diagnostic team at Romaine Electric identifies and repairs all electrical issues from farm, truck, marine, industrial, diesel, ATV, and PWC. Romaine Electric in the Industrial Park off Ferry Street and Wenatchee Avenue. Stop by or give them a call today at 663-8150.
Breed's Marine in Manson has your boating needs covered, offering the superior Regal lineup with options from 19 to 53 feet. Featuring the Regal Surf lineup with Volvo Penta's new forward-facing drive with length from 19 to 26 feet. View our current inventory at ChelanBoat.com or stop by our Manson showroom on beautiful Lake Chelan and see what the all-new Regal RX Surfline has to offer.
Welcome back, and now for a recap of our top story today. Chelan County marijuana growers opposed to new zoning rules turned out en masse for today's public hearing. Over 100 people turned out for the commissioner's public hearing, but only 2 spoke in support for the proposed regulations. Steve Hare was there and filed this report.
Well, the commissioners took about an hour and a half of testimony here this morning at their chambers in Wenatchee. And they heard from several people who spoke in favor of the industry and in opposition to those new regulations that have been proposed to mitigate the smells and the lights that are generated by these large marijuana farms. A lot of people, though, were very much against these new regulations and were very, very explicit in their testimony today.
All I'm saying to the commissioners, we have put up with this for 3 years. And when I have family coming from Arizona and their eyes are watering, their nose are, I can't even have people to my house. And I shouldn't have to live that way.
My family's been here for over 100 years, taking risks to leverage blessed income that they've built from scratch. And we did the same thing. I wanted to teach my kids to do the same exact thing. And to have the carpet pulled out from underneath us like this, it is unconscionable. I can't believe it.
I own a Tier 3 outdoor grow. Has had no complaints whatsoever. My nearest neighbor is Steve McKenna, with the PUD commissioner. I have a couple other neighbors that are within 800 feet.
My family has been in this valley for, probably at least 150 years. My grandfather was born out in Gray's Landing, where they grew fruit, agriculture, whether it was wheat in the beginning days or when they moved down off of the plateau full-time to raise cherries and apples. I am completely disgusted at the idea that you would somehow detract from Wenatchee's history, which is nothing more than agriculture, gentlemen. Would you ask the Stamilts over 100 years ago to stop doing what they were doing?
I come from a family of farmers. Most recently, we've been growing cherries, and we're no longer able to support ourselves with cherries. We tore out an orchard to grow marijuana, and this was supposed to be the family legacy. This is going to be my legacy. And because we are in a RR5 zone, you're going to zone us out of business. I'm going to be without a job. This was going to be my life and my history. You took it away from my children. Thank you.
Meanwhile, the commissioners are going to sit on this for a couple of weeks. They'll be resuming the public comment starting on August 22nd, and at that time, they will be taking action and possibly adopting these new regulations. Steve Hare from the Chelan County Commissioners' Chambers in Wenatchee for NCW Life News.
And now your weather forecast for north central Washington. Before we get to that, though, Seattle set a record today. We'll talk about that in a second, but here's a look outside our weather window. This is the Lake Wenatchee camera, and you can see still some lingering smoke to our north, but I'll tell you what, a much better scenario for almost all of us today. A lot less smoke, air generally unhealthy to good in most locations. So that should be our trend as we move through the end of the week and into the weekend. But I mentioned Seattle set a record, 52 days without measurable precipitation, and that is 1/100th of an inch of moisture. And if you're thinking, Wenatchee, that we're getting close to, we are in our 52nd day, we're really not. 10th place on that list is 69 days back in 2011, but look at the top ranked time period with no moisture, 102 days. And that was back in 1974, so we still have a ways to go before we set any records for no moisture. But forecast-wise, wildfire smoke from fires in British Columbia, Montana, and northern Washington are still trapped under an area of high pressure, and that will persist through at least Saturday. We'll also continue with above normal temperatures with highs mainly in the mid to upper 90s. Dry conditions are also expected for most of north central Washington. And for the first time in a long time, there will be some threat for mainly afternoon and evening mountain thunderstorms during the rest of this work week as series of small frontal systems move through the state. The threat of thunder and lightning also exists across the Cascades, especially north of the Methow Valley and across into the Okanagan Highlands. Chances for showers and thunderstorms will increase by early next week, along with a gradual cool down in temperatures as significant weather system moves into the region from the Gulf of Alaska. Let's take a look at your forecasts now, and we are seeing still some warm weather. 98 possibly our high this afternoon, 99 for Wednesday. We'll see 98 on Thursday as well. Still some smoky skies out there, and things will begin to get better late Friday and into Saturday. Our cool down also begins on Saturday, if you can call 94 cooler. Partly cloudy skies then, 65 our low. And then by Monday, starting off your next work week, partly cloudy skies with high temperatures actually below where we should be for this time of year at 87 degrees, lows of around 63. Well, and that's going to do it for our newscast tonight. For more on these stories and other news from around north central Washington, you can find us on Facebook or our website at ncwlife.com. And remember, if you see news happening, we'd like to hear from you. You can send us an email at news@ncwlife.com or give us a call at 888-6295. I'm Grant Olson. Thanks for joining us and have a great night.
This has been NCW Life News on the NCW Life channel. For more news, log on to ncwlife.com, like us on Facebook, and follow NCW Life channel on Twitter.
Bay Equity Home Loans in Wenatchee, serving all of north central Washington. We make it our priority to learn all about your financial needs. Whether you're buying your first home, refinancing, or want a reverse mortgage, our mortgage professionals are ready to guide you through the loan process. We have a wide variety of loan products to fit your family's needs. Call Bay Equity Home Loans of Wenatchee today for your pre-approval. 509-888-0466.
You know, I nail it, but that's not quite good enough. All right, the full-size SUV redesigned this year. Wow. The brand new Nissan Titan, the truck everybody's talking about. And as long as we got that, let's start over. 2017 Nissan, they're the best-selling SUV in America. I freaking had it. Come down and see us at Town Nissan behind Costco in East Wenatchee.
Hey folks, Carrie from Blueberry Hills in Manson. It's blueberry picking season and King 5 named us the second best destination restaurant in Washington State. So toss the family in the cruiser and get on out to Blueberry Hills for the best down-home scratch country cooking you've had in years. And don't forget our award-winning pies. We're fun, family-friendly, and a delicious destination year-round. We're open every day from 8 to 3, serving breakfast and lunch all day. So come on out to Blueberry Hills.